And I hope everyone's doing okay. Um, well, I want to discuss a law that was recently passed in Texas. Basically, they want to ban abortion after 6 weeks. And I don't know why the government won't just leave a woman's uterus alone. A woman's body should be up to the woman, not the fucking government. I am so sick of the government wanting to police women's bodies because it should solely be the woman's choice and her doctor, not the fucking state. If a woman wants to have children, she should have that right. And if she doesn't want children, that's her right as well. And it's funny how these so-called pro-lifers claim that they care about children, right? They claim they care about children life or whatever, but they don't give a fuck about kids that are already born. They only give a fuck about the fetus. But then when the kids are born, they don't give a fuck. They're not for affordable daycare. They're not for welfare. They actually treat these people like burdens in society. They don't give a fuck about kids already here. But they're so pro-life, though. And the way I see it, they are anti-woman, period. They don't give a fuck about children already here. The pro-lifers are the most hypocritical motherfuckers of all. I'm sick of everyone want to police women's bodies. And this is why I remain a feminist, because of situations like this. And it's already one abortion clinic in the state of Mississippi, which is fucked up on so many levels. And my thing is this. Do you think women are going to stop getting abortions just because you're restricting? Because women been getting abortions way before abortion was legal. They were using hangers to terminate the pregnancy, which was fucking dangerous. So I prefer a woman to have access to a safe abortion if that's what she chooses, because that's her right. I'm not for forced sterilization either. I'm actually for reproductive justice, which means a woman should have the right to have kids when she wants or don't. What's up, Jacksonville? How are you? What's up, Pros? It's good. But yeah, man, these motherfuckers are out of control. We're trying to control women's bodies. Like, stay the fuck out of women's uterus. God damn it. It don't make no fucking sense. What's up, Dookie? What's up, Concrete? Dookie says Texas also passed a law charging tricks with felonies for buying pussy. That's what I'm outraged about. Man, they also allowing these motherfuckers to sue people who were involved in an abortion, whether it was a fucking doctor and all that jazz. I'm like, how the fuck can you even do that? That's some bullshit right there. I don't know why motherfuckers is so pressed about what a woman does with her body. Like, leave the fuck the woman alone when it comes to her fucking body. Like, what the fuck? It don't make no fucking sense. I'm tired of it. And motherfuckers wonder why I identify as a fucking feminist, because you see all this shit going on. Fuck that shit. A woman has a right to her autonomy, period. These motherfuckers aren't the one carrying a child for fucking 9 months, but they have a say in what a woman does with her body. Get the fuck out of here. And also, Black women, especially in this country, are more than likely to die during childbirth. These doctors don't take our pain seriously. That's another thing that needs to be discussed. Because another thing, women should have the freedom to birth their child however they want, whether they want a fucking midwife. And that's another thing. It's not covered by insurance, but it should. Period. And back in the days, like my great grandma, for instance, way before Roe versus Wade was passed, she was trying to abort her child, jumping around trying to cause a fucking miscarriage. And it was dangerous too on top of that. So it's like, do these motherfuckers think people are not going to get abortions? Because they are. They're just going to do it the unsafe way. And it's like, the government needs to find something else to worry about. It's so many pressing issues to worry about outside of worrying about a fucking woman's womb. Real talk. Like, these motherfuckers do not care about kids when they're already born. I don't see none of these motherfuckers trying to adopt none of these kids. They're not trying to give these children quality of life, but they give a fuck about a fetus though. Fuck out of here. And check this out. They're pro-life, but these very same people are pro-death penalty. You cannot make this shit up. And they're the main ones who's for going to wars and shit. But they're so pro-life, right? But the motherfuckers are hypocrites. They only give a fuck about a fucking fetus. They don't give a fuck about kids already here. They don't give a fuck about the woman. They don't. It's just a way to control women. Women been fucking police over their fucking bodies for centuries. And it's like, let the woman decide what the fuck she want to do. Period. Like, I'm getting so annoyed with this shit. Like, it's scary. Like, I can't even move to no place like no fucking Texas. And they doing that shit on purpose because a woman don't even know she's pregnant during that time period. By the time a woman finds out she's pregnant, it's too late. So they purposely did that, trying to force a woman to have a kid she doesn't want. That's some bullshit. After 6 weeks, really, the majority of women don't even know they're pregnant during that time. Yeah, I agree, Pros. They're trying to force women, especially white women, to have more babies. That's all it is. It's just like how they used to sterilize minorities and stuff because they didn't want them to procreate and shit. A woman should have a right to do what she wants with her body. Period. It shouldn't even be up to discussion. Honestly, it's so many pressing issues we should be worrying about as a nation, but we decide to want to worry about what a woman does with her fucking body. That's some bullshit. What's up, Jimmy?
None. You know what's crazy about the topic of abortion?
Yeah.
Is they're forcing people to have more babies but at the same time, they do population control and say we're overpopulated. Isn't that like crazy as hell or contradictory?
That's bullshit. It should be up to the people. Like, the government has no fucking business getting involved in other people's reproductive organs. That's some bullshit.
Yeah. Now, I will say I'm pro-choice. And the reason I'm pro-choice is when you look at who's having the babies and how fucked up situations are, it's better. Let's just face it. Everybody shouldn't have a baby. There's some people, they should be arrested every time they get pregnant. You know what I'm saying? And that's just the truth.
Well, the thing is, if the government, the society, if they truly gave a fuck about children, they should make sure the kids that's already here should have better quality of life. Like, how the fuck can you say you're pro-life, but you don't care for kids having quality of life? You don't care for these kids to have a fucking loving home. You don't care about these kids having health care.
Well, I'm gonna tell you something, because I've been to a Right to Life meeting and we argued this, and I had a friend of mine that he ended up leaving it alone because he was like, man, I want your perspective, because he thought he was doing something righteous because he was a Christian. And I explained it to them in there. Y'all full of shit. And I reckon most of the Right to Life groups are just like this. Now, in my city, the inner city, as they call it, it is young teenage black girls having all these babies, these unwanted pregnancies and these abortions. But Right to Life don't give a fuck. They was going to, in my city, they was hitting up all the county areas and all the white towns. And I'm like, wait a minute. Why would you go an hour away where it's predominantly white and completely leave your city to go chase white girls? You know what I'm saying? To deal with them.
Oh,
that makes no sense to me. But that's what they're concerned about.
Right. Yeah, what it is, they want the white race to procreate. So they're forced. That's all that is. They don't give a fuck about other minority groups.
And let me tell you this. I know people say it's murder to have an abortion. Like I said, I'm pro-choice. I mean, I think it's kind of unfair, but like I said, it's impossible to do it without testing, leaving the father out. But here's my problem with the system. I'm pro-choice. Come on, y'all have seen it before a million times. How many people are fucked up because their mother, the woman, let's just face it, the woman knows she shouldn't be having no fucking babies. I've seen it with friends and people I know personally where they have a baby, drop it off, don't want it, when you could have just gotten an abortion. Now the kids out here fucked up, they in foster care. And you know, people don't realize about foster care. Man, majority of them kids get molested in foster care. All kind of shit, abused, everything. By the time they get grown, that's your future crackhead. That's your stick-up kid. That's your inmate. That's your serial killer. That's your psychopath. Now, I'm all for abortion.
Yeah, and what's so funny, these people, I don't see none of these so-called pro-lifers trying to take in these kids, though, but they claim they give a fuck about children, though.
Most pro-life right groups live off the donations. That's what it's about. And remember this. Let me tell you what the government's view on abortion is.
Hey, Patricia.
What's up, Pat?
What's up, Harvey? What's up, Jimmy?
The government supports both sides of the dice. This is reality. And this is what I told the people at Right to Life. Y'all think when they do an abortion, they don't throw them baby fetuses away. That's how they find cures for diseases. And look up Frito-Lay getting sued. They was putting it, Frito-Lay, I think that was maybe back in the 70s, was putting that shit in food. They got sued for that. Them baby fetuses, they have a purpose. And the government should just be real with us. We're not going to get rid of abortion, but if they do that, they get rid of these groups.
Yeah.
The thing is, they can't get rid of it because people were already getting abortions when it was illegal. So it's like, why do these motherfuckers think by restricting it, like somehow that's going to prevent a woman who truly needs abortion?
They forgot what it was like before it was legal.
Yep. And some people didn't see that era. They don't know.
A history book. Well, it's before us, but it's in history, and it doesn't take nothing but to look it up. I mean,
But do you know how many people make decisions in this country and they don't even know some of that? You know what I mean? They don't give a fuck.
Right.
They make a decision because maybe somebody lined their pocket. That's something else about political decisions that are made. You don't know who paid who or the governor in that area. Because a lot of decisions are made. Remember, the dairy companies made billions and trillions of dollars because they paid the government to put it in the school system to say milk do the body good. They knew milk was bad for you the whole time.
Right.
And now they're making money hand over fist because when the truth come out, now it's okay. We make the almond milk, the lactose-free milk.
Right. You're right. You're exactly right, Jim. But I jumped up to say I agree with you as far as pro-choice because that's what I do for a living. It's like dealing with the system and all these kids and that women just keep, I know it takes a woman and a man to make a mistake, but the ultimate decision is the woman, and you just bring in some broken children, and it's overcrowded. It's like 50 to 60 caseloads per worker that I have to give out to certain workers. That their caseloads are overwhelming, and I'm telling you, not doing nothing but making me richer. So if I were an asshole, I'll be like, keep on. But at the end of the day, I do have somewhat of a heart, and I'm just like, you take away pro-choice, you fuck up a lot of shit.
Trish, I'm gonna ask you a question. This is about real life. Tell me you ain't never seen somebody you know personally, whether it's a friend or a family member, and they had a baby, and you was like, you had no business having no kid. And an abortion would have been a death because they either went out here and were strung out on drugs, didn't give a fuck, threw their kid out here in the system. And God knows who was raising them, and they just didn't give a fuck.
Right. We all meet those people. We have people like that in our family. Like, I've never had an abortion, but yet my common sense tells me, think about that. People are reckless. You're bringing children in the world, put them in the system. Some people literally just have money. I mean, babies for money.
Yep.
And it's just. I remember when I was in high school, this crackhead, she was always hanging around. And every other year, she was pregnant. By the time from the 10th to the 12th grade, I must have seen her push out 4 babies. And then I was like, what the hell is happening to those babies? Like, it's like, if you talk to me, in some third world countries, I think it should be mandatory. Shit.
Yeah, and then you get situations where they want to put the kids in special ed classes, not because they really are slow, but because if you put them in there, when they get grown, you can put them on a check and live off of that. You can control the money.
When they're little, I know kids that are 2 and 3 getting SSI checks.
Yep.
They're just cash. And how about this?
Or they get a big one because they foul and then they don't get it for like 10 years and they end up giving them back pay and they get a big ass lump sum.
Right. And now here's this. When they take away pro-choice, you also take away for young women who have been raped, molested, incest.
Yep.
So it's like, what if a young woman doesn't want to have a baby of rape or incest or molestation? You just took the choice away. So I mean,
you might have a woman having a brother by her cousin or her father.
Yeah, that's kind of fucked up.
Now you might have, and when you bring a kid inbred, they could be born with Down syndrome, retardation, deformity, and all kind of shit.
Yeah, and to mention that women
over you, they ain't the ones got to deal with them late at night. Can't sleep.
No, women of a certain age are more at higher risk of having babies that are Down syndrome. I think it's 40 and over. So what if they say, I don't want to have this baby? Because what about, I guess if a woman's 40, she's kind of too old to be having, I don't know, older to have a child. It's hard raising children.
Isn't it higher risk? Isn't it just higher risk though? They can have them, but they'd be higher risk.
Right. They're higher risk, and then they could, and then for children that they put into adult group homes, here you are, senior citizen, your child, you're worried about your child when you die, what's going to happen to them. Taking away pro-choice messes up a lot.
Right. And the government has no business being a woman's business. That's between the woman and her fucking doctor. Like,
right.
It's crazy.
But they
Like,
make
a
money
lot
off
of
them.
And like in
fetuses, though.
Mississippi, like in the state of Mississippi, they only have one abortion clinic in the whole state of Mississippi.
Damn.
Yeah.
right, and it's just it's not right. Children raising children and then putting it. What if you got a couple of children and then you have a 14-year-old and she ends up pregnant and you don't want to raise no other babies, but you got to raise a baby because this child is still a baby. I think you should be able to have the choice.
I'm gonna
I mean-
tell y'all the truth. If you think about this will increase the number of abortions because now, hey, you only got 6 weeks. You got to hurry up and make a choice.
Right.
I think that's what they're trying to do. Personally,
They're purposely trying to make people have kids because let's be real, majority of women don't even know they're pregnant during that time. And it's just like by the time they find out, it's too late. Like 6 weeks.
Right.
Really. They doing this intentionally.
Well, I don't know. I know with my daughter, I knew right away. With my son, I was like almost 5 months pregnant and didn't know it. Shoot, it's like I wanted my children, but I'm just saying, we're gonna have a lot of more hanger babies and those underground abortion clinics where there's abortion clinics where people are dying and those dirty rooms women used to have to go to and get abortions. They're just opening up a whole can of bullshit.
yeah, like you said, you're gonna get some underground motherfucker that's gonna have a field day with it.
Yep, and butcher these women, and it's just I never thought it should be used as a means of birth control, but in certain circumstances, I believe in abortion.
That's
And
something
I'm
else too, though. I'm gonna be honest with you though. That's something too, especially amongst young black women, that I find is insane. Is that you birth control is free. You know, people
Right.
that do Planned Parenthood, they'll kill the baby for you for free. But at the same time, you can go get the shot, you can do rubbers, and you don't gotta pay shit.
Right. Well,
And that's what I don't get. Why don't you think? That's what I be saying to myself. Like, damn, why don't y'all think before you? I mean, like, they're sitting there and they're just pretty much like, hey, here, do your thing.
because people always believe it's not going to happen to them. That's
And that's
why.
my problem with Right to Life. That was something else I explained to him too. You know, what about HIV? Y'all don't. That's something else. See, when I came up, it's always been a problem. But when I came up, you had what they call sexual awareness.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? And you know, that's something else too. You don't see a whole lot of that no more.
Right.
Why
And
is
there
more
should
sexual
be-
awareness?
Yeah, and there should be comprehensive sex ed. Honestly, it should be taught in every school. Like that whole abstination only is some bullshit. That's
I know,
not going to
because you know what? Check this out. When I was a kid, coming up, my dad had me and all my friends. We all got sent to a sexual awareness meeting. And you talked. They even let you cuss. They talked your language. And I'll tell you what, they showed you pictures of venereal diseases. They talked
Right.
about rubbers. They went through everything. Pregnancy. They had people who come in there that fucked up. I mean, it was a whole weekend. I spent the whole weekend.
Wow.
It was Wilberforce University. And I mean, you knew everything about sex you wanted to know. You knew about diseases. They taught you how to, hey, look, if you don't know nothing else, find out where Planned Parenthood is in your area. Back then, there wasn't no internet, so it was like, call 411 and find out where it is in your area.
Right.
And-
Well,
and-
now you have to leave it up to the parents. Like with my kids, I've showed them pictures of certain STDs and made them aware. But you know, the schools aren't pushing that anymore. The schools are pushing gay stuff. They're gay awareness, unity. That's what the schools are pushing. That more than sexual awareness. It's crazy.
and
Like,
you know what? And even gay people need sexual awareness.
They do.
Yeah.
They need sexual
yes,
awareness.
they do. But the schools aren't pushing that. They're pushing homosexual studies. Like there was no question about it. They were saying we're going to teach them basically to get along with everybody and homosexuals and transgenders, and they have to take these classes. And I'm like, that's funny that you have this topic, Harley, because I was like, well, what about sexual awareness and pregnancy? What happened to all those classes? What happened to when I was in high school, they gave us the fake baby doll and your partner. And I learned from that, like, man, I don't want to deal with this bullshit. But it's like now it's like, hey, you have to take these homosexual classes. Like,
That's
Forget
something else
sexual
too,
women.
especially amongst homosexual men and people that are into anal sex. They even explain that to us. Why people who practice that get it are more prone to get it.
Right. And that's
No,
what I
because it's
learned.
more
The
riskier.
blood contact, and things like that.
Yep, they taught us, and in high school, I
But they
actually
taught us
learned
that.
about they talked about anal sex, how it's a tight spot and the penis bleeds, the skin is thin, and the blood mixture up in there. They taught us all of that.
Yep, they told us it's just like a blood transfusion if they're a bleeder.
That's crazy. But now you got to teach your own kids. You have to. The learning starts at home now, because the schools are about curriculum now. They have an agenda they have to follow. They don't go outside of that agenda. They get mad when you try to suggest to go outside of that. So you have to teach your kids at home.
Yeah,
crazy.
and I think and kids should be taught how to fucking use a condom, like how to
That's what I'm saying.
properly
They got
protect
rid of all that.
yourself.
All that. I'm saying all that died in about the 90s. Because like I said, when I was coming up, all through the 80s and early 90s, that's what they had. They had they would be like 2-day seminars, whole day seminars, and it was usually at the black colleges. And they would come. And they didn't just talk to you about sexual awareness, about being responsible, being a motherfucking man, doing right by your kids. They went through the whole aspect, every aspect of life. You know what I mean? Like being responsible. Some teaching you shit like teach your kids, even before this became popular. You know, what's his name? Dr. Kawanja Kunjufu or whatever they call him. They wrote that book, The Conspiracy to Ruin Black Boys. I knew about him in the 80s.
Yep, and I was looking at Pros
back in the 80s about this type of shit.
It's crazy that, like Pros just said, they lowered the grading scale. Yes, they did. My daughter's a senior in high school, and she came home with a paper saying that they're not doing SATs this year because of the pandemic. They don't even have to take the SAT testing.
Oh wow!
Crazy shit. Yeah,
I'm so sick of this shit. They about to lock everybody back down again. You know that?
Yeah. I think it is coming. I think it's coming.
And the vaccine ain't working. That was why they released everybody. Oh, the vaccine's working. It's working. Now all of a sudden, well, and let me tell y'all something. And this is a known fact. Diseases do not mutate. Just don't ever believe that lie. They make that shit in a laboratory and they change it up because they make more money making a different version, just like the flu every year. But this here is more of a fucking money maker. This here is more of a money maker than the flu because it's more of a fear of death than the flu.
Right. And don't believe they don't have cures out there for certain things. It's just they make more money saying they don't have the cure.
Yeah, well, it's a lot of diseases they don't want to cure because, like you said, right now, there ain't like syphilis. There ain't a whole lot of money in that now because they can shoot you up and that's it. You're done.
Right.
You know, gonorrhea. You don't hear, but like syphilis, you don't hear anybody talking about that disease no more. That used to be like the AIDS of our time.
Well,
before AIDS and HIV came along.
And that was during the time where they were withholding treatment for these black men during Tuskegee.
Yeah, I was going to say you talking about the Tuskegee experience.
Yeah, they did, but that just wasn't here. They did it in Guatemala as well. They gave those poor people syphilis, and they said they were doing it under the pretense of the military men because they were, to try and stop it. So they had to experiment on people. They always give you a reason, excuse of why they experiment on people. It's just crazy.
It is.
It's just I don't know why they would. So they really did outlaw abortion in Texas, huh?
Yeah, after 6 weeks, a woman can't get an abortion, and that's some bullshit.
And you got all, there's gonna be some arguments. Like I said, I believe in pro-choice, but most of them that come towards you are we holding that Bible. But what's crazy?
But I blame the churches because you should be teaching these girls. Listen, we can't promote sex, but I'd rather you fuck and know what you're doing than to just be fucked. Because if I just tell you no, what you gonna end up doing? Remember, it used to be that back in the day. That's what they said, church girls, because they were told no. Instead of saying, okay, yeah, you gonna fuck. Well, let's be aware about what we gonna do.
Sex is part of life. Just merely telling someone they shouldn't be fucking is unrealistic.
And when
Like,
you're a teenager,
you
that's
need
when
to
your
properly
hormones are
teach
raging.
people how to protect themselves
Yep.
if they're
And when
going to
you-
have sex.
And when you
Right.
go through puberty and stuff, your hormones are off the fucking chart.
Oh, man, fuck that. But a lot of these damn Bible thumpers and the people in these Catholic and Christian schools, that's where most of the goddamn, all them priests was molesting them boys, them nuns popping up pregnant. They finding babies and shit under these churches. The biggest devils are in church. They need it more. Fuck it.
Yeah, that whole abstinence thing has never worked. Every person who was brought up in that abstinence bullshit all eventually have sex, having unplanned pregnancies and catching STIs and all that shit because they weren't properly taught how to protect themselves.
Well, the church feels like it's contradictory to teach against it, but what they don't do with the church, I say to church motherfuckers though. Remember in the Bible, you had about women supposed to be married before they have sex. So what were concubines?
Right. Man, they're the biggest hypocrites, Jim. Up until about 10 years ago, the church was like preaching no homosexualities, and now it's the church marrying same-sex couple sexes. It's like they're so confusing. And what people do,
like you just said though, in the Bible, they say okay, it's contradictory to be fucking if you're not married. You shouldn't fuck nobody, right? But the greatest prophet who was without sin was David, and he had concubines, which are your whores basically on the side, your side bitch.
That's what a concubine is exactly.
It's a friend you fuck.
But look at when those scriptures were written. I mean, we live in a patriarchy society. Only men got a pass for having multiple women and stuff. If a woman was doing all that, that would be considered adultery. Believe it or not, that's actually what adultery was. If a woman commits adultery, it didn't pertain to a man. A man can have multiple women.
That's a good point. But also, the reason in the Bible that that women were allowed to, that men were able to marry 6 and 7 women and were able to get away with all that shit was because back then, when women's husbands went to war and they didn't come back, those women were like out there slaves in the streets. Because remember, in that society, the man took care of the woman. So you got a woman like 3
populate the earth.
Yeah,
that's what they say.
That's all they was for. And when you got and take care of the babies, but you got a man who just died in the war. So then you got this guy, he's rich, he's wealthy, he could take on 50 women. And it wasn't all about fucking. It was, and the Muslims will tell you one of the reasons they allow women, especially into our society, to have as many women as they want. It ain't about fucking or the man controlling them, but it would be better for a woman to have a man with multiple wives than to be gay or like I said, back then to be a slave.
Mm-hmm. Because a Muslim man can have at least 4 wives.
But you guys you remember that church controlled the world at one point until what was that king? The Henry V or something. He's the one that separated church and state because they used the Bible to control the people. Yep. To control the people. It is not. People forget the Bible is man written by men. Men are sinners. Men, they used it to control.
Like that movie, The Book of Eli. Remember that movie, The Book of Eli?
Mm-hmm.
He couldn't mentally control him. He needed a book with a set of rules so he could control everybody because he's all wild and out of whack.
So when it comes down to it, it's like, I don't care if you believe in a higher power, whatever your faith is. I myself, I do believe. I am not an atheist. No pun to atheists. But I also remember that the Bible was used as a means to control the people. And a lot of that stuff you read in the Bible, if you look up African history, the stories from African history predates Greek mythology.
Oh, yeah, the Bible took from
the Bible.
The Bible took from the Egyptian Book of the Dead.
Right. So
Horus was Jesus.
Right. So a lot of people, you go by this white man, this so-called Jesus. I forgot his name, the Conqueror's son. But like I said, African history, you can find the same story in Greek mythology and the same story in the Bible. But this is all predates the Bible.
And don't forget Nebuchadnezzar, the Indian version of the story. Everybody got
Yeah.
the same version of that story.
Right.
Even the Mexicans. What do they call them? The Mayans.
Right. The Incans, the Mayans. Yeah. So here it is. It's like if you want to choose to put all your faith in that Bible, you just got to understand that a lot of them stories in that Bible predates Christ. So they are stories. They're stories.
And the Bible is a philosophy book. It's not a literal book. It's just a philosophy book. You could go right now and make 10 rules you want to live by in your life and follow those 10 rules to the hilt and probably improve yourself if that's what you want to do. That's the whole purpose of it. Not just to be walking around here with no plan or no idea what you want to do.
Right. It's I forgot what's the meaning of Bible basic instructions for living something. It means something. But
for life or
And another thing, like there are already like scriptures that didn't even make the cut in the Bible. So
well, and let me tell you what else. You got a good point. You got a good point, Harley. And I was telling somebody this. I read a book years ago called Satan, Christianity's Other God. There is no devil. There's no such thing as the devil. There ain't some motherfucker sitting in a place in hell waiting on you to come down there and join him. And they use the book of Job to teach you that story. But what they don't tell you about the book of Job is there's stuff missing in the book. It was God allowed men to fuck with Job. It wasn't some serpent in hell. And why would God be making deals with the devil? And God can't look upon sin directly, and the devil's the biggest sinner, because that's what he told Moses. If I look upon you, you gotta die. Because you ain't pure enough. But
exactly.
The Bible's full of contradictions.
See, we could do a whole show on that for real. That's a whole.
But then people only learn portions of the Bible. They don't learn the whole stories. Like a lot of people know the story of Moses and Ramses and the part of the Red Sea, but then they don't even know that Moses never made it to the promised land. They never made it. That whole generation.
He was allowed to look at it, and that was it.
Yeah, because what was it they said? They said God was mad at him because he got mad at the people, and God said, "You have a lot of nerve getting mad at them, and I'm the ruler of you." And it's like people always say, "Honor thy mother and thy father," but the other part of that is, some do not provoke your children either. Like people only know half of the stories, and that's what they throw out.
If you notice, like all these laws you see passing, these banning abortions, if you notice, they're all in states that are heavily religious. Enough said.
Yes.
Right.
And you know what? Right. And that's the problem, because that's when religion becomes a weakness.
Right. That's what King Henry V, that's what he was trying to. That's why there's the Bible before him, and then there's the James version. And it's like it always changes. And there are, man, I wish I could just be a fly on the wall in the Vatican. That's where you go find all that shit. There's different variations of the Bible, and it's all written by men at the time of which way they wanted shit to go, because it was a means to control the people.
And according to your culture and things like that. But you know what's so crazy though, Pat, is that people don't realize if I took right now and gave you one book in the Bible, uncut, do you realize it'd be like a whole fucking encyclopedia library?
Right.
You couldn't put one book into one book, but they've taken all these books and condensed it down into what they've done.
Into one thing, the Gideon. That's what a lot of people, they get the Gideon version. But here's the thing. When I was little, I remember my grandmother showed me one of the other Bibles, and it was Jesus' life when he was a child, and it was saying how bad Jesus, he got in trouble. He used to get in trouble all the time. I've been trying to find that to show it to my daughter. It's not out there anymore. It's gone. They have taken it off the shelves. But then now he was the perfect person. When they say when that one specifically said he got in trouble and he was bad. In fact, one of his first miracles they mentioned happened by playing on a roof with a little boy, and the little boy fell, and he brought the little boy back to life. And it's like, I can't find that because I want to show it to her so bad.
Yeah. Well, look at Martin Luther King. He marched us into an ass whooping, and he trying to be to promote his own image. Yeah, he got you civil rights, but he was promoting himself. Trust me. He was all about himself. And he was trying to imitate Gandhi, who didn't even like black folk. He trying to be like Gandhi, which was some
or
bullshit.
his daughter.
Well,
or
the thing
his, or
is, it
Gandhi's
was
daughter.
it was a tactic on his part. That
Oh, the
it
government
was
used him like
to
a
show
pawn.
how the people that's attacking them, they're the evil ones, and to gain sympathy from the public. That's why they chose not to fight back. They did the whole peace shit or whatever. That was a tactic on their part.
Yeah, it's all about manipulation. And like you said, these churches ain't gonna take care of all these babies. Because like you said, it's definitely gonna be, it's either gonna be an increase in abortions or an increase in babies.
Well, they're so
Right.
pro-life. They should take in these unwanted children. They should be trying to give these children better quality of life if they actually gave a fuck about children. But no, they only give a fuck when the child's in the womb. They don't give a
No,
fuck once a child is born.
It's gonna go back to the way it was back in the day. If anybody knows about history, they know what happened before they put these laws in place and came up with legalized abortion. And Roe and Wade, I think that's the lady who used to do this show was outdated by the time I came along, but there was a show called Romper Room, right?
I remember that show. Fuck yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, so basically the woman who used to run the show, they say that she got pregnant and found out that she was having a Down syndrome child, and she didn't want this child, so they wanted to have an abortion, and that's how it went all the way to court. Like, she didn't want the child. She felt like they couldn't handle. Not everybody is uniquely special enough to take care of a special child.
And people
you
don't
have to
know
have
that
a lot
is
of
some
patience
work.
to raise a child like that, or any
That is
special
work.
needs child.
That is work.
For that matter.
Trust me, I know. I had one of my family. That is work.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I do not think that I am uniquely special enough to do that. And so shout out to people who have special needs children. I know that is a job, a chore, and you're always worried, because I know when I was in college, part of my internship was to work in a place for special need adults. And the saddest thing was watching those senior citizen parents come in here and know that they were going to die one day, and their adult child with special needs, they were worried about them all the time, because you feel, as a parent, you feel like nobody can love your child as much as you, and you can protect them, but they were worried, what's going to happen when I'm gone? So yes, that takes a special person to do that.
Right. Yeah, you definitely have to have patience when it comes to raising a special needs child. You have to. And everybody's not equipped to do that.
No. Shout out to those who can.
So yeah, I'm just like, the government has bigger fish to fry. They shouldn't be out here worrying about what a woman chooses to do with her body. If a woman wants to have a child, she should be allowed to do that. And if she doesn't, she should have that right as well.
Because it's going to be mostly her responsibility anyway.
Yeah, she the one carrying the child for 9 months, not these motherfuckers. So why the fuck do they care about shit that's going to impact the said person?
But you remember this, though. The more black babies you got that aren't taken care of, the more you fill up these prison systems. And remember, prisons are big money. It pays to have a prison. That's why you have private prisons. It's pretty bad when you have a prison system that's so overcrowded that they contract this shit out like you would a building. So the more fucked up things are, the more money there is to be made. The more institutions. Remember, America's run on institutions. So you're going to have to everything has a reaction or a side effect, so to speak. This abortion thing will have a hell of an effect, especially over the next 10, 20 years.
Yeah, and they're not stopping shit. Women, I mean, abortion been around for centuries. Women have never stopped getting abortion. If a woman's determined she's going to get an abortion.
I'm sorry. Really,
That's
Ralph?
horrible. I just saw that
Ralph,
too.
Don't be bringing that over because that's bullshit, dog.
Yeah,
That's
don't start
bullshit.
that.
Why would you do that, man? We're over here having a.
Yeah, we're trying to have a
discussion.
serious topic.
You got something to say? Say it on your channel, dog. Why you bringing that over here? See, that's why I don't like Ralph. He a little bitch. Don't bring that over here. We're over here acting like fucking adults. You got your own channel. That ain't right.
Yeah, so anyways, yeah, so
Sorry,
the government, what you said?
I said I'm sorry. I didn't mean, but that just pissed me off. That ain't
Yeah,
cool.
I know. You just ignore that. Yeah. So yeah, the government should be worried about other shit outside of a woman's body. That I just feel like it's just a way to distract us from bigger problems. They want to worry about a woman's womb and shit. That's how I feel about that.
It's going to cause more problems. And it goes back to what Jimmy did say, which is, you know, a lot of it has to do with money and who's greasing those goddamn pockets. A lot of
That's
those
right.
laws are made with who puts the most into the pie pan, who greases the bigger pockets. Don't think it's all morally decisions and thought after. Sometimes it's the biggest bidder. Anything and anybody can be bought at sometimes, and when they can't, they try and take them down. So it's money. Somebody in Texas was bought off.
Exactly.
They know all the problems.
Lawmakers are fucking men trying to make decisions for women. It's like, you motherfuckers don't have a womb. Who are you to tell women when to
That
have a
decision
child?
should be made by single women who know what it's like to get up and have to raise a kid, especially if you ain't got a dad that's wanting to help you and you got to do all this shit by yourself, or you don't have the family structure, or you don't want to be a burden on your family either, because what ends up happening is grandpa ends up becoming dad instead of dad.
Mm-hmm.
And I bet if these dudes were the one carrying a child, it wouldn't be up to discussion. This is totally anti-woman, period. They just want to control women. And they're hiding behind, they give a fuck about fetuses when we know that's bullshit, because they don't give a fuck about kids once they're already here. They're just trying to give kids quality life. Like, fuck out of here. And these same people, and these so-called people who are pro-life, they're for the death penalty. They're for going to war with people. Like get the fuck out of here. And not only that, they killed. You see some of these people kill the abortion doctors or whatever.
Right.
So how fucking pro-life are you? Like, fuck out of here.
It would make more sense for the government to just tell you the truth. Listen, abortion is how we have. That's how we look for cures for diseases. We do all kind of shit with them baby fetuses. They do all kind of shit with them baby fetuses. That's why the abortion clinic, they make a killing off them baby fetuses. You think they throw them away or destroy them? Hell no.
Can I say one thing real quick?
Well, they use it for stem cell research as well.
Hello, everybody. It's OJ. Can I say something real quick?
What's up? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Here's the problem. Men need to take responsibility and control of their reproductive material, and women will not have to make this choice. It's a man's responsibility to not impregnate that woman. That's my stance. I made sure I do not impregnate these women. Therefore, they don't have to make that choice. It's a man's responsibility to have control over his reproductive material. That is how it should work.
Hey, you know what? That's a good point.
And there should be, if you think about it, there should be more male birth control.
And the problem is, men have let women control reproductive by saying, I will get pregnant, it's my body. Hold on. If I don't give you viable reproductive material, you cannot either choose or not to choose to get pregnant. It's men's fault for not standing up and saying, I'm not giving you this sperm. I'm going to fuck your brains out, and you're not going to get my reproductive material.
Exactly.
But men,
I'm laughing, but I agree with you to a certain extent.
Yeah,
all the way. Men are afraid to tell women, hey, I have a choice. My choice is to not give you viable reproductive material. That's the problem. Men are so afraid of women. That's
He's
the
got a
fucking
point,
problem.
because we put it all on the woman as if it's all the woman's fault.
Men
but
are
Yeah, it's
afraid.
everyone's
The man is just as
responsibility because it's going
responsible.
to impact both parties.
And you know
Nope,
what?
nope,
I'm
nope.
glad he pointed that out. I'm glad
Nope.
he pointed that out, because you
Men
know what
need
else,
to-
brother?
Men
You know
need
what
to be
else was the point?
hardcore. Men need to be hardcore and say, I don't give a fuck about your emotions and your feelings. It's my
Yes.
reproductive material. You're not going to get it. But men
And
are
you-
afraid to say
And
that.
you know
They're
another good
afraid.
point you brought up? You doing what you did just brought out? Okay, let's say I got 3 kids and I'm paying child support and I ain't got no money. I should be considering a vasectomy, not going out here and knocking up
Dude.
another one and laying my
Get-
seed out thinking it
dude.
makes me look
Get a vasectomy. Take control of your reproductive material.
exactly.
There should
Don't
be more.
leave it.
There should be more
Don't-
birth control options for men.
There
Honestly,
It is. It is.
Yeah,
There
only
There
condoms
are.
and vasectomy. You know how women have all these birth controls. We have all these birth controls.
they-
A
Hold on.
man only has vasectomy and
You
the
do know
fucking condoms.
They have male birth control pill in Europe. You do realize they have it, right? But
They, yeah,
Not
the
here.
FDA will not approve it. You know why?
yes.
Because women still want to have control over reproduction. They don't want men taking pills and fucking their brains out and not knowing that they can get pregnant. That's the problem. Women
Well,
want
after during the
control.
clinical
That,
trials,
and the other reason-
the men
other reason
getting
too-
tested for these birth control, they were complaining about the
but
side
check this
effects.
out.
So they don't want to handle the side effects that women deal with
Yep.
when on birth control.
But the other thing that he just brought out is another good point, is that this country, whenever something's made in another country, they don't want it to come over here, because if it ain't one of the major companies like Johnson,
Money.
GlaxoSmithKline, where they make all the money, they
Thank
don't
you.
want it. They don't make as much money when it comes
No.
from another country. You know,
Money has a lot to do with it.
for a lot of diseases
If women
that we don't have.
want to control reproduction. That's why. But the simple, that's 100% your choice. This bullshit about it's 50-50. Bullshit. I have 100% control over what you get my.
Well, you're breaking up.
You're breaking up real bad.
You're breaking
You might have
up.
to lower your voice. It's making your mic chop.
You're breaking up.
My responsibility.
You're breaking up.
I don't give a fuck about. I've had women cry themselves to.
Oh,
Did he leave?
yeah.
He probably
I guess
feel like he
something
was
happened.
breaking up bad.
Well, I think that what louder, if you get too loud, it'll make your mic break up.
Yeah. Yeah, Jimmy, I agree with what you said. And a lot of things that are legalized in other countries, they don't bring it over here because we don't control the money. If it's not with US made corporations, there's no. Okay, example. Here's a good one. These doctors, they give all these people, they put them on these pills, narcotics and stuff, these opioids, and then they send them to the clinics to get healed and stuff. It's like a circle of what the fuck money. Either way, they're making money.
Yeah. Well, you heard what they're gonna do when marijuana becomes really legal. They're talking about like the opioids, having houses where junkies can go and just chill out and get high all day. And then when you have a heart attack or something, they resuscitate you, give you 24 hours, and put you back up in there and let you get high again.
Yeah, they already
Yeah,
do
yeah.
that in other countries like Canada,
Yeah, Germany, they do that in Germany.
where they
Which
just
is-
shoot up.
Well, they might as well, because the government made all this shit. They made all these. Look up the history of any drug that's ever been created. I think crystal meth was the only drug that was made in Japan, and that's because over there they used it for super soldiers. Yeah, a lot of that shit is manufactured.
Adolf
Okay.
Hitler was on meth.
You cannot
well.
make drugs even though drugs are illegal, if you stop, they can stop drugs in 24 hours. I just said, but if you stop drugs, the whole world goes under. It'd be a big ass depression. Because remember, countries like Colombia, they ain't just known for coffee. You know what I'm saying? They also known for cocaine. What is it?
Yeah.
Afghanistan is known for their hash. And some of these countries is known for their heroin and shit.
Wait a minute, right here. What was Florida built on?
Drugs.
Thank you. Right here in the United States. We're not going
Remember,
to
they
give
used to have
that to other
cocaine and
countries.
coke. They used to have cocaine and Coca-Cola.
They sure did.
Yeah, drugs used to be legal at one point.
And there was
When you go-
there used to be drugs. Cough syrups like that get you fucked up
When you go to Florida, all the buildings and all that shit you see was built on cocaine, coca.
America's built on it.
Yep. We're not gonna pretend that that's not a thing.
How you think Mexico makes money? They ain't offering a whole lot. Fucking drugs, manufactured drugs.
Right.
The reason why prisons are overcrowded because of the whole war on drugs shit. Try to legalize
money.
makes money though.
Because remember, it makes money.
Prisons are privately owned organizations.
Yes.
That every time somebody go to prison, you go. That's what I told my son the other day. I said, you get in trouble, you go to prison, your stupid ass gonna be sitting in there while some billionaire is getting richer off of you.
Yep.
That's the insult of going to jail.
In 94. Back then, every motherfucker that got shipped out was worth $38,000.
Ain't that some shit? What are they making?
Back then they didn't spend $5,000 to feed you and house you. So can you imagine how much profit that is?
Making pure profit off your prisons are nothing but adult group homes. That's what they are.
Yeah, it's modern slavery at this point.
They get paid for you to be there. So every time you fuck up and go to jail, you paying somebody else while your dumb ass sitting around.
All right.
And you know what else? Look at the people who got stock in prisons. People say, "Oh, black person shouldn't." Why not?
Hey, I ain't one of those free everybody. Sometimes a motherfucker need to be there.
Oh yeah, I mean, don't get it twisted. Hey, I was in there with a dude that bit a baby's dick off. He belongs in.
Yeah, he belonged there. Fuck Free and him. When they were Free Willie, he's been Free Willie. Fuck Willie. Willie killed 15 motherfuckers. I'm glad Willie locked up.
Yep. I was there with a guy who was so fucked up and high, he threw a baby up against the wall, broke his neck, and killed it because the baby was disrupting his high. An infant baby.
Oh, well, then he belonged. He should still be in there. Shit.
He didn't get life, but I bet he did a hell of a chunk.
We don't want you walking around in society. I don't believe in free everybody.
Oh, no, you got to have a prison system, but it's just petty. Good example. It's stupid if Joe Blow is outside somewhere smoking crack and you're sitting in prison for 2 years. That's just stupid. That's a waste.
It's dumb. Like addicts, non-violent addicts should not be locked up. They should be in treatment. It should be treated like a mental.
They should be left alone because if that's what the fuck you want to do, who do you want? Remember, that goes back to pro-choice. If you choose to put that in your fucking body, that's on you. You ain't hurting me.
For real. Do you think prohibition hurt us as a country more?
Yes.
No, it helped a lot of people, including black people, line their fucking pockets during prohibition. They could have stopped it. Why they let the 10, 11 years? Prohibition, man, I think that's the best thing for the man that didn't have shit that ever happened to this goddamn country. Shit.
It was a failure. That's why we appeal that law, that whole prohibition shit. That was a failure in itself because people are still drinking.
It's a fucked up law. I don't drink, but a lot of people got rich off of prohibition. Let's just face it.
Hey, before I get off of here, I just want to say I hope y'all keep doing this more often. I like doing this, man. Not doing the dumb shit. I kind of enjoy this, man. I wish we did this more often.
Yeah.
Right.
We don't do this. We don't do this often enough.
No, you don't. I like these shows too. I like fuckery, but I like this too. I like the even balance.
Just to chill out, man, and not have to deal with nonsense. I'm out.
All right, Jimmy. I'm about to get off too, Harley, and go listen to you.
Okay, girl.
All right. Okay.
All right. Peace. Exactly, Assyrian. They don't give a fuck about rehabilitation in this country. Like, I can name other countries where they don't treat inmates as a punishment. They like places like Norway and Sweden and other places, they basically treat the inmates, they treat them like people. They don't punish them. They just treat them like human beings. And they should implement that in this country, but I know they're not going to do that. Hey, James, how are you? And I'm for drugs just being legalized and just treated like a public health just treat it as such, because addiction is a disease. It should not be criminalized at all. This is why you see all this overcrowding in prison, because the whole bullshit war on drugs. So that's my take on that. And I don't believe, and this is another thing, weed should never have been illegal in the first place, because weed does help people in a medical standpoint. It helps with pain. It helps with seizures, with a whole variety of ailment. Weed is weed is medicinal. So if you notice, why the fuck are these people pushing these opioids versus weed? Weed is natural. And all these drugs they criminalized was on some race-based shit. They criminalized weed because Mexicans smoked weed and other minorities. Opium was criminalized because Asians were using it. Cocaine was illegal because blacks was on it. It's all race-based. It has nothing to do with public health. None of that bullshit. It was all race-based when they criminalized drugs. Period. And it's going to get to a point, I believe we're going to get to a point where weed will be legal nationwide. I think we'll get to that place. And I believe that motherfuckers' records should be expunged. Like, so they want to legalize weed and they should expunge people's records who got caught with weed while they at it. And allow these people who were caught with it when it was illegal have a opportunity to get on with the weed business. So I'm for weed being legalized. I don't agree with someone being locked up for being caught with some weed. Fuck that shit. It should never have been illegal. And I think that all drugs should be legal, but I know that's not going to happen in this country because these people make too much money locking people up. That's wishful thinking right there. So yeah, y'all, I'm about to get off of here. It was nice talking to you all. Shout out to the people that came on my panel to discuss the abortion shit. And I will holler at y'all next time. Peace.